A lot of guys, you know, they're very good, but they've never done. Just say hello to your fans. Come on. Come on. We will help the president win in 2024. I promise you that. Oh, that's a good job. We don't usually do that, but you know, I thought he deserved it because I got to see what they do, and what they do is incredible. Thank you, Mario. Appreciate it. Steve, thank you very much, everybody. Amazing. So, I also want to thank some of the great people we have with us today. We have a man with an unlimited future, Wesley Hunt. Wesley, thank you. Wesley Hunt, he's got a big future. A congressman who has had a great life and done a great job, and he's going to do a lot of other great things, I have no doubt, because he's got energy like no other, and he's a man who loves our country. Louis Gohmert. Louis, where is Louis? Thank you, Louis. He's been my friend. Oh, there you are, Louis. He's been my friend from the beginning. Another friend, agricultural commissioner, somebody that I saw on television years ago saying, you know, they were saying, gee, I don't know if Trump's going to win Texas. He said, I don't know where you come from. I watched him, and he had that gorgeous hat on that I wanted to have a hat like that. I loved him. He was on television on, I think, To Face the Nation, one of the shows. Ladies and gentlemen, it's Sid Miller on Defense the Nation. He's a good man. He's a good man. He's always on television with a hat. I want to do that. I want to start doing that. And then we have a woman who's very special because we endorsed her and she went like a rocket ship and she won, Land Commissioner Dawn Buckingham. So with the help of everyone here today, 4 months from now, we're going to win the Texas primary. We're going to win it. Crooked Joe Biden, he's crooked as hell, he's also incompetent. He's crooked and he's incompetent. That's a bad combination, boys. But we're going to beat him in November, and we're going to make America great again, greater than ever before. Hard to believe, because you look at what's happened to our country, and I want to tell you it's hard to believe, but we're going to make it greater than ever before. We're going to have a massive deportation effort. We have them coming in from jails, from all of the places that you wouldn't believe, mental institutions. My people said, please don't use the term insane asylum. It's Silence of the Lamb, right? Silence of the Lamb. Hannibal Lecter. Anybody ever heard of the wonderful Hannibal Lecter? We got him coming into this country now because other countries are dumping their people from mental institutions and insane asylums. In other words, from Mario, insane asylum is a step above. Do you understand? That's the real thing. But we have them coming from everywhere, including a lot of terrorists are coming in. You know that, Louis. You know that. Common sense. You know, they just showed a chart on one of these crazy fake shows, but this wasn't fake, that in 2019, they found no terrorists coming into our country, and now they have numbers the likes of which they've never seen, Dawn. You know that, right? On day one of our new administration, we will end Biden's nation-wrecking war on American energy. He's wrecking the energy. Who's in favor of cars that go very short distances that happen to be all electric? I don't think Mario likes, you don't like electric cars, Mario. He wants gasoline. He wants gasoline. He wants to go straight down and do a little turn every once in a while, right? And with the help of Texas oil and gas workers, we will restore American energy. And they gave me, by the way, they gave me their endorsement. I was so happy. Thank you. Ron DeSanctimonious came here trying to get that. They gave their endorsement to me. So it's really, that was really something. But you know, we were energy independent 3 years ago. We didn't need anybody. We're going to shortly be energy dominant. We're going to make so much money. We're going to pay off debt. the $35 trillion in debt. We're going to pay it off. We're going to get it done fast, too. But we're going to be paying, we're going to supply Europe all over the world. We're going to send our oil and gas, and then they ended it. They ended it. They allowed Russia to build Nord Stream 2, which they shouldn't have done. I ended it. You know, I ended Nord Stream 2. I don't know if you all know that. And within the first couple of days, he approved it. That was the worst thing. That was the biggest project Russia's probably ever done in terms of dollars. And I ended it, Louis, right? And then they had him. He goes and says he approved it. He approved it. It was a dead deal. Nord Stream 2 going to Germany, all over Europe. And he comes in and he approved it. Then they say, oh, Trump wasn't tough on Russia. I was so tough on Russia. Putin said, if you're not tough now, I'd hate like hell to see you if you were tough. What we did was sanctions to Russia. We did things that you wouldn't believe. But what we're going to do for our country is very simple. Drill, baby, drill. Okay? We're going to get it back even higher. You know, we took it from third place. We were in third and even fourth place. We were, when I left, unexpectedly, when I left, we were number one by a lot. And now they're dismantling all of that. They want to go all electric, even though we don't have enough electricity to cool down California in the summers. You see that blackouts all over the place. This summer was a disaster. The winters broke it down. The whole thing is crazy. Let's go all electric, but we don't have enough electric to take care of somebody's air conditioner in California. It's all over the place. But I'm proud to say that under my leadership, the United States became the #1 producer of oil and natural gas in the world by far. I mean, not just by a little bit. You have to see the chart. We ought to put up a chart. Why didn't you give me a damn chart, Mario? I'll put it right on the face of that beautiful piece of equipment, whatever the hell it is. Well, that looks beautiful. That is a beautiful hunk of stuff. That goes cheap. And we became a net energy exporter for the first time in the history of our country. Do you know that? Because of people like that. Within days of my inauguration, I approved the Keystone XL and the Dakota Access pipelines. Literally within days. Remember, they were stopped. They weren't going to approve them. The guys, they spent billions of dollars. They weren't going to approve them. And actually, what happened is the Keystone was all set to go. It was started. They actually started it. Biden came in and he took it away. He took the permits away from everybody. I don't know how much money they lost on that deal. But they were going to build a pipeline all the way over to the Gulf, and Biden stopped it. And you know, the amazing thing is the union head representing the pipeline workers, the union head, I guarantee there's not one worker that voted for Biden, crooked Joe Biden, but the head of it, they endorsed this guy. And he comes in and within 2 days he ended the whole project, and those people suffered greatly. 48,000 jobs, 48,000 people, they gave their life for that, and they never really sort of recovered. That's what they wanted to do. I withdrew from the disastrous Paris Climate Accord, which was a ripoff. It sounds good. Yeah. I want the Texas Climate Accord. I don't want the climate accord. We want the Texas Climate Accord. This is the climate we want, right, Louis? No, that was one of the greatest ripoffs. China was exempt, India was exempt, Russia was exempt. China didn't have to do anything until 2035, think of it. But we had to pay billions and billions and billions of dollars to other countries because they were a growing nation. They call them a growing nation. What are we? We're a nation that needs it more than anybody else now, because what they've done to our nation in the last 3 years, we need help a hell of a lot more than China and a hell of a lot more than these other countries that are ripping us off in every possible way, including psychologically. They've taken over the Middle East. Now Saudi Arabia is aligned with China. You know that, right? When did you think that was going to be happening? They're all aligned with China, Russia, China, North Korea with China. We've lost everything. We've lost everybody. We're like on an island by ourselves. But don't worry, I'll get them all back real fast, and I won't be paying. I won't be paying. They'll come back, and they'll come back fast. They're going to come back fast because ours was natural. Theirs is unnatural. We slashed approval times for pipelines and other energy infrastructure to bring it down from 10 years to less than 2 years, and we were going to get it down to about 1 year before we got before we had a pause. You know the word pause? We have a pause. We have a little pause in here, Wesley. It's a 4-year pause, and it taught us how bad things can get. And that's why we're hotter today as a movement. It's the hottest movement in the history of our country, by the way, by far. But we're a hotter movement today than we were 4 years ago. I opened ANWR for energy development, which presidents had been trying to do for over 50 years. They've been trying to get it done. They couldn't get it done. I got it done. I had gas prices down to $1.87 a gallon. How does that sound? And we were producing at a level that nobody's ever seen before. The chart I was talking about, it showed Saudi Arabia line like pretty straight, pretty flat, going up a little bit. It showed Russia going up a little bit, and it showed us going like this. Then Trump gets in, and we were like a rocket ship. It went boom. And that's what, because we have more liquid gold under our feet than Saudi Arabia or than Russia. That's not bad. Our energy policy was maximum production, maximum prosperity. We had prosperity like nobody's ever seen, and also maximum power because it gave us power, not the kind of power you're thinking about. I'm talking about tremendous political power. With crooked Joe Biden, you have the exact opposite. We're laughed at by everybody in the world. They don't even believe it. They can't believe it's happening. Our country is no longer respected. All 50 states have hit record high gas prices, but they're cutting way back on the gas. We're talking about numbers that nobody's ever seen before. Remember this, a lot of the energy production and a lot of the other production, where you see the stock market, a lot of the production that we have right now, go ahead, please sit down. You know, sit down, it's very hot. It's good for me, I don't know if it's good for you. Sit down. They'll be up, they'll be standing up in about 2 seconds. Anytime I mention Bill, they all stand up. But you know, the Biden administration, if you look, they're so bad, but they're just coasting right now on the fumes from what we did. But those fumes are wearing thin, and you see that happening. The economy is horrible, what's going on. Biden blocked oil and gas leasing in America, and when he killed the Keystone Pipeline, he approved, remember that? The Russian pipeline shortly thereafter, Nord Stream 2, and nobody ever heard of Nord Stream 2 until I came along. Nobody knew they were building the biggest pipeline anyone's ever seen, I guess, covering all of Europe. And what he did is he immediately approved it. I had it absolutely stopped. He re-entered all of the Parisian situations where we were paying for everything and they were, the energy producers, and now he's pushing the suicide power plant regulations that will shut down every oil and gas and coal-fired power plant in America. He's pushing regulations which will close up the power plants in this country. And the least you could do is take a look, a modern day look at Germany. 4 years ago, I told Angela Merkel, who I got along with actually surprisingly well. She was tough. She made a couple of mistakes. She let about 2 million people into the country that they shouldn't have. That was a big mistake. And she made something else. She decided she's going all green. And they closed a lot of their plants, fueled by a lot of people and people here working there. And you know what happened? Their whole economy went to hell. And now they're opening up coal-fired plants all over Germany. Nobody knows that. They've gone the exact opposite because they tried this Green New Deal bullshit and it didn't work. And if Biden gets his way, the United States, and it's happening now because you see permits aren't being given out. They're taking everything. You know, we had that thing going so at a level, and now it's starting to come down because those times have expired and they're not renewing leases or anything else. The filing dates are coming due. People are going in for new drillings and they're getting rejected left and right. Who would do that? How stupid is that? That's like open borders. Let's open up our borders so the whole world can come into our country. These are stupid people. Or they're people that hate our country, and I'm not sure which. The way I look at it, they can't be stupid, because anybody that can cheat on elections as good as them, they're pretty smart. But there's an evilness and a sickness there, and I really think they want to destroy our country. If Biden gets his way, the United States will be reduced to an impoverished third world, crippled blackouts. We're going to have crippling blackouts. We're going to have people literally begging our enemies for mercy. We're losing all of our power with what they're doing. It's crazy. It's crazy. So I want to, just tell you that it's companies like this, and we have them in so many, making tractors, making everything. Companies that are the greatest companies in the world, they're being put out of business by people that don't know what they're doing. The auto workers just signed a deal, and they got an increase. But they got an increase, but they won't have jobs in 3 years because everything is going electric. And you know the story with the cars. It doesn't work. You're not going to make electric cars in this country. We don't have what's necessary for electric cars. We have what's necessary for gasoline cars or hybrids. But Texas patriots will never, ever let what they're trying to do happen. You know why you won't, and you know how you stop it? Elect Trump, and you're going to stop it. You're not going to. What you do is elect Trump and don't worry about it. You know, I told the auto worker, I went to Michigan, which is under siege, and they're going to be losing all their jobs, all their auto jobs. Everyone's jumping up. Oh, we got a new contract. Those companies are all going to go down the tubes. Bankrupt, yes, but they're going to go down the tubes. There won't be auto jobs because they didn't cover the fact that all cars have to be electric. And I'm telling you, if they don't do it right, if they don't do it fast and right, you're not going to have any semblance of automobile manufacturing in this country. I did very well with Mexico. I like the president very much. He's a friend of mine, but they took 32% of our automobile manufacturing out of our country and brought it into Mexico, and that's a sin. Canada took a lot, and we signed a deal, which is very good for Texas, the USMCA. We got out of NAFTA. That was a big thing. That was a big jolt for our country. We went from the worst deal ever done, ever, NAFTA, one of the greatest rip-off deals, and now we're in the USMCA. And if you look, that's Mexico, Canada. And if you look right now, they're meeting with Biden. They want to renegotiate the terms of the deal. And Louis, I would say, go there as an ex-congressman who was very tough and successful. Tell him you better not do that deal. They want to renegotiate the terms. It's always nice, though, when you make a deal. I have a lot of deals where they're all trying to renegotiate it now with Biden. The sad part is they'll probably be able to do that. And don't worry, we'll change them back very fast. We'll change them. With your vote, we will fire crooked Joe Biden, and we will reclaim America's destiny as the greatest energy superpower on the face of the earth. We were there. We were there. We were going to be there in a very short, within a year, they would have been saying, man, what the hell is going on? Perhaps worst of all, Biden's insane mandates on so much. And so much, by the way, including these mandates. You know what that is? Those are insane mandates, too. We're not here to talk about that. But we're not going to let them. There's a move on now. All boats have to go electric. Army tanks have to go electric. Because they want the tank. We make the greatest tanks in the world, Army tanks. Think of this. We make the greatest in the world because the tanks, if they're electric, you're going into a country blasting the hell out of it, but at least we're doing it in an environmentally friendly way. It's environmentally friendly. The problem with the tanks, though, it's really a problem, that the battery storage capacity is so big that the tank would have to pull something behind it that's much bigger than the tank. So that's a little bit of a problem. They can't seem to work that out. But no, they want to make our Army tanks think of this. They want to make our Army tanks all electric for the environment. They want to make our planes, our jet fighters. They came to me when I was there. They have a new fuel that we can save about 15% on the environment. I said, what does it do to the plane? Well, it makes it less efficient. Would you like to be a pilot up there and you got guys shooting at you and you're approximately 15% less efficient, but it's environmentally friendly to the people that you're at war with? This is what they're doing, and they want to take boats and make them. I was in South Carolina recently. A great company like this, one of the biggest, one of the best, it's incredible. And he said the biggest problem we have is they want to make, you know, those beautiful Mercury engines that you see, the outboard engines, the inboard, they want to have them all electric now. And I said to the owner, like a guy like Mario, very similar, very, very successful, built from nothing. Now he's one of the biggest boat manufacturers. I said, how bad would it be if you went all electric? He said, well, the one thing is it's very heavy, so we don't think the boat can float. So they're off to a bad. Number two, they have the same problem, big. It's very big, so we'll have very little room in the boat. The thing is like 8 times larger than what you need for a gasoline-fired engine. And I asked him a question. He said, you know, you must be scientific, because my uncle was a great student, and then he was a great professor at MIT for 40 years. He has the record, longest serving professor in the history of MIT. That's pretty good, Wesley, right? Dr. John Trump. And I used to talk to him about things like this, but I said to him, he said, nobody's ever asked me. He said, what would happen if you're out at sea and your boat sinks and you have a whole big electric deal under you? Would you get electrocuted? He said, you know, nobody's ever asked me that question. I said, I'd like to know, what would happen? He said, I don't know, I'd have to think about it. I said, so if that boat goes down and you have a shark that's 10 yards away, so you have a choice of a shark or being electrocuted, I will take electrocution every single day. Anyway, the day I take office, I will cancel Crooked Joe's electric vehicle mandate, okay? Steve, can I do it, Steve? I don't know. Unless Mario says don't do it, otherwise I'll do it. We're going to cancel it the first day. In fact, I even said the first hour. After the speech, you know the long, beautiful runway you walk up after the speech? I will sign the papers as I'm walking up, okay? We won't even wait till I get to the True. It's true. Texas was a big beneficiary of what we did. And the fumes are burning lightly now, but they're still burning a little bit. But in another year, you're going to see how bad it is, because you know what's happened. You know what? You all see the future. The future is bleak. Under the Trump administration, electric, hybrid, and gasoline-powered engines will be allowed all over our country and all over the world. But remember this, very important. That's allowed, but child sexual mutilation will not be allowed, okay? You know, it's amazing when you run for office and you all of a sudden start talking about different things. And if you put ourselves up, take great politicians like we have in our various rows up here, and you I didn't want to say front because I don't want to make them sound, you know, but they do have very good sense. They have very good sense. But you take these politicians. Wesley, who would have ever thought as a politician we'd stand up here before a tremendous crowd in Texas, where actually the crowd is probably 5 times bigger. We want to keep it down, right? I said just as small, so we talk about energy, and you have to see what's going on outside. Who would have ever thought that one of the things that we would talk about would be, we will stop child sexual mutilation? Could you imagine having, if you made the statement, even that statement, we will stop it, people would say, is he insane? Or we will give back parents their rights in school. They don't have any rights. Who would think you have to make that statement, Sid, right? We will give back parental rights. People would say, if you said that 10 years ago, they'd say, what's wrong with that guy? Of course we have parental rights. Or, how about this one? We will not allow men in women's sports. If you said that 10 years ago, they'd say you're crazy. And now I have to say it all the time because they have men going into women's sports, setting records the likes of which nobody's ever seen before. You got to see the weightlifting records, though. Those are the ones. You know, there's some that are more obvious than others, right? You know, with golf, you still have to sink a putt. And the women can do it, and men can do it. Some can do it well, not too many. There aren't too many. But, you know, with weightlifting, that's down and dirty. That's how much can you lift. And you know this, or should I tell the one story? Have you heard it before? The one story is a young woman who was a great champion weightlifter, and she was going to break the record. Her mother, her father, her husband, everybody was there, 2 kids, and they're in the front row, just like these people right here, right there. And she's going to break this record, and she gets up. It's 216 or something pounds like that. It's a lot. And they put a 1/4 ounce on one side of the barbell, a 1/4 ounce on the other side of the barbell. She got over that thing and she started going. She's going to show her parents that this is going to be a record. And I shouldn't do this because the First Lady hates me when I do it. She said, please don't do the weightlifting. It's not presidential. I said, but the crowds like it. Well, I wouldn't do this in a State of the Union speech. So she gets over that big barbell, and she gets it up, and she's so proud of herself. She gets it up. Oh, she got it. The mother's going, go, baby, go. You can do it. You can do it, baby. I love you so much. And it's bad news. Bad things are happening. Mom, I'm sorry. Mom, I didn't do it. Boom. Didn't do it. Then a guy comes along. He's next, and he transitioned. Recently, they said, have you lifted before? No, I haven't really. No. Well, good luck. He goes over the bar, looked at, bing, bong, boom, boom. I think they broke the record by 150 pounds, okay? Now just think how stupid. Or the swimmer. She looks left, she looks right. She sees all the people she's been swimming against. Champion, top champion, NCAA, top. She looks left, she wants to break the record by 1/8 of a second, which would be a big achievement. It stood for a long time. And then she looks right and she sees the same people, except there's one person that transitioned. He transitioned about a year ago. She heard about her, and she looked up, and it's the largest human being she's ever seen, right next to her. He had, only the older folks would know what I mean by this. He had a wingspan very similar to Wilt the Stilt Chandler. And she said, what the hell, who is he? Or her? And they said, ready, set. Her parents were there too. She wanted to do them so proud. Go! And she was badly injured, very sadly injured. You know why? Windburn. He went by her so fast that she suffered massive windburn and took her lives. Now the whole thing is ridiculous. And you know, women are afraid to speak out about it, believe it or not. Even these athletes on the teams are afraid. Well, it's okay, it's okay. It's ridiculous. It's very demeaning to women, and we will end that on the first day. So Biden's Crooked Joe's green new energy calamity is one of the biggest factors causing, as you know, the inflation disaster, which is about the worst we've ever had. The typical American family is paying more than $2,250 in increased energy costs since Biden took office. That's a lot. And if you look at the overall cost, it's about $8,000 per family. You add up the bacon. You know, bacon is up 5 times. 5 times what it used to be.
Everything.
But food is up worse than energy. You know, energy is bad. This is your business. But food is worse, and other things are worse. By contrast, under the Trump administration, we reduced energy costs for the average American family by $2,500 a year. That's a big difference, $5,000. $5,000. Low-cost energy also helped us bring jobs and factories roaring back from China, Mexico, and all of the other foreign countries that have been ripping us off for many years, decades and decades. We created an incredible 1.2 million new manufacturing jobs. Nobody said that was possible. Do you remember Obama? Did anybody ever hear of Obama? That's not very respectful, Sid. Barack Hussein Obama. Remember Rush Limbaugh? He used to go. Remember? He'd go, Barack Hussein Obama. He used to scream out. He will be missed, right? He is missed. Yeah. He is missed. But we created an incredible 1.2 million manufacturing jobs. Everybody said that was impossible. Obama said it was not possible. He thought we gave up on manufacturing, that places like this, Mario, wouldn't exist. You know that. He said that they'll be made in other places. You know, we would have nothing to do. What are we going to do? They want to build just low-income. Everyone's going to build low-income housing. At some point, or senior citizen, at some point, though, people have to, like, work and create things, you know, not just places to stay. But in my next term, to accelerate our manufacturing resurgence, and we were setting records. Not only were we building and doing it, we were setting records at doing manufacturing jobs, because I was tariffing and taxing China and other countries at a level that made it more competitive for companies like this to build here than it was to build over in China, to deliver here. Where we would actually build cars in China, and I put a big tax on those cars coming in and stopped it, but we would build cars in China and sell them in the United States and lose our jobs. And China and other countries, not just China, other countries, they'd say, we're not going to take your cars at all. If you want to make cars, and if you want to sell them in India, or if you want to sell them in any one of many countries, come over here and build a plant, but you're not going to sell them if you make them in the United States. We let this go on for years. We stopped it. We stopped it. And who can blame them if they get away with it? Who can blame them? That's why they became such monsters in terms of manufacturing, because of our politicians who were very stupid or corrupt, but who were very stupid people. They destroyed our country. I mean, they've destroyed the manufacturing base of our country. You look at shipbuilding, how few ships we build. You look at some countries like South Korea, their laws set up for them to build. Our laws set up for us not to build. But it's pretty scary. You know, during the Second World War, we were building a ship a day. Today, you can't build a ship in 4 years. It took us 10 years to build the Gerald Ford aircraft carrier, 10 years. And then they decided to be cute. They used, instead of hydraulic elevators, they used magnetized elevators. So if I have a glass of water, I pour it on this massive, that's the end of that. They'll send, again, to MIT, they'll send somebody, send a couple of scientists. The catapults were made electric instead of steam. And when I went to the ship, it was in big trouble because it was, listen to this, Louis, it was $10 billion over budget. And I wanted to go and see this ship that was costing so much money. And I landed with a helicopter on top of this massive, incredible ship in Newport News, being made in Newport News. And I said to the people, they all greeted me, and they said, sir, this is the admiral, and this is the general, and this is this and that. I said, I don't want to meet those people. I want to meet the catapult people. The people that have done the catapulting. They call them catapulters. And so they said, really, sir, wouldn't you rather see the admiral first? No, the ship is $10 billion over budget. I don't need the admiral. I want to find out what the hell happened because the catapults weren't working. So for 50 years we used steam, more. And that beautiful scene, that steam goes off and that plane gets thrown the hell off the power, beautiful. And it's cheap. So they bring these 5 guys over, one's named Joe. I said, Joe, hi. Yes, sir, I'm the chief catapult. That's what I've done my whole life, sir. If you told him he could live in a penthouse in Trump Tower and have the life of Riley that I did have before I did this crap, you do it. I had the greatest life of anybody, Wesley. They say, what the hell did you do this for? I got more indictments than Al Capone. If I flew my plane right over there, they'd indict me for flying over his property. It's unbelievable. But I said to Mario, so let me ask you, Mario, you have a big problem with the electric car. Yes, sir. I said, well, why? Because it doesn't work, sir. And when it breaks, you have to be a rocket scientist to fix it. It's so complicated, we'll never understand it, sir. I said, well, which is better, steam or electric? Steam, sir. I said, why did they design electric? Because it can keep going like this all day long, but it takes us 59 seconds to reload a plane. And when we reload the plane, the steam builds up and it's all set, sir. It's perfect. It works so well. And we can fix it with a blowtorch if something happens. And if a wave hits it, it actually cools us down, sir. We love the waves hitting us. If a wave hits the electric, we're out of business, sir. We might, we'll die with this thing. I said, it'll never work, will it? No, sir. They spent $900 million on extras, cost extras, to fix it. And it never really got fixed. Never really got fixed. And then Joe told me one other thing. He said, sir, check out the elevators. They're a disaster. I don't work on elevators, sir, but speak to my counterpart. They have these massive elevators, bigger than this area, that lift up like 6 planes at one time. You're in an emergency. You can't do 1, 2. And they're magnetized. Magnets pull them up. I don't know too much about that subject, but I'd rather have hydraulic. Wouldn't you think so, Mario? You have hydraulic. I want hydraulic. You can have a tractor. You get a D10. They even have a D12 now, Caterpillar. And that thing can be hit by lightning, it can be hit by a blowtorch, it can be hit by anything, it's gonna work. So I said, why didn't they use the hydraulic system, sir? He goes, they didn't use it, sir, because they don't know what the hell they're doing, sir. And they were having a huge problem with the elevators because when they're magnetized, it's very delicate. And when they break, nobody knows how to fix them. Can you imagine you're in a battle, Louis, and you need your planes up on the deck fast? And they say, well, the water's a little rough today. The elevators got hit by a couple of drops of water, and now they're out. That's where we are. So it's just one other thing. They built the aircraft carrier differently. They put the cabin, the tower, not in the middle. You know the way it's shaped this way, right? He would know exactly what I'm talking about. Steve, you would know too. It's shaped this way, right? And the hardest thing for a pilot to do, great pilots, the hardest thing to do is land a plane on an aircraft carrier. And some of the best pilots in the world can't do it because they're claustrophobic a little bit. You don't want to be a pilot, even if you're really good, if you're claustrophobic. Not if you're landing in the middle of the sea. And as big as that aircraft carrier is, when you're up there going at 1,000 miles an hour, looking for your aircraft carrier, and then you spot a little, like an ant in the ocean. It's big when you're next to it, but it's not big when you're up there. And you gotta land that thing on a little tiny deck, as big as it looks, it's tiny. Those are the most talented people. So what they did is they built the aircraft carrier, and they decided to put the tower, the tower where the admiral is, and the captain, and they're all, they're talking to all the other ships that are surrounding it, make it safe. Beautiful scene, like the Roosevelt and others. Beautiful, beautiful ships. But I said, what the hell, why do you have this tower in the back? Well, sir, that's the way we decided. Nobody could tell me why. I said, but I knew a lot about the landings and the pilots and the talent. And you have actually some great pilots, they just can't do that. They just can't do it. They cannot land on an aircraft carrier for reasons. I mean, they can't do it. They may be better than some of the pilots that can land, but they can't do it. So I said, when you move it to the back, doesn't that create a problem for the pilots? Because that's back there, you gotta land it. That means you're landing like you gotta miss that tower on top of everything else. You can have more deck space in the back, right? Yes, sir, that's right. I said, who was the architect of the ship? So I called the people, the admiral said, I'd like to meet with the architect. I said, could I ask you one question? Yes, now you understand, this is the largest ship in the world. This is like Kennedy Airport in New York. We wish we had runways that big, right? I said, may I ask you one question, and I don't mean to be rude. Yes, sir. Have you ever designed a ship before? And he said, well, I worked on a couple. Now, these people this is crazy, Wesley. You could look at things that they do, And I said, I have one more question. Why do you have this room on the bottom, these very unusually shaped rooms? Sir, that's where we store our ammunition. I said, so you store all of your ammunition under the tower. How does the captain feel about that? And the truth is, they made a mistake, but nobody ever talked about it. I said, why do you store them? I mean, this guy's gone. If that'll be the first place they aim. They used to have it in different compartments all over the place so people couldn't figure it. The whole thing is under the tower. Now, maybe by now they change it. But they had it was supposed to cost $3 billion or less. And I think it ended up at $18 billion for one ship. One ship that's improperly designed. It's very sad. And I caught a lot of things, and fortunately some of them I was able to do a lot about, like, don't build it this way anymore. Put out an order, only hydraulic elevators, only steam catapults. But some idiot, some egghead probably would override that now, because those are different. But I tell you these stories because it has to do with what you do, Marion, because it's the same thing. It's common sense. A lot of what we do is common sense. People say, are you a conservative? No, I'm a conservative, but I'm a person with great common sense, like 95% of this audience, not 100. Steve, I guarantee you he has common sense, right? It's common sense because you don't have to have a label. I mean, it's like, I don't want open borders, I want low taxes, I want great education, I want wonderful housing at low interest rates, I want voter ID, I want voter ID. So we're going to create millions of new jobs, and we're setting the ambitious goal of achieving the absolute lowest cost for energy and electricity. We're going to rebuild our grid system. We're going to do things that nobody's ever thought possible, and we're going to do them fast. It's going to get done very fast. And this place and this state, but this particular place, but this state will be one of the big beneficiaries. I can tell you that. You have a lot of states will benefit, but this will be one of them. And we've seen under the Biden administration, energy security is really, it's national security. Think of it. Energy security is national security. That's what it is. And we don't have national security now. We're like a bunch of very dumb people that have like a rudderless ship. If you don't have energy, and if you don't have borders, and if you don't have fair elections, you don't have a country. You don't have a country. And we're close to having no country. Joe Biden's Green New Deal socialist scam, it's a scam. Yes. It ships our energy jobs from Texas to Tehran, from Midland to Moscow, from Beaumont to Beijing. Beijing, China, lovely place, I've been there. Lovely place. Incredible what they've done. They've taken so much of what we had. Biden's policies are good for China, but they're not good for America, and we're interested in America. That's why I always say America first. We got that started. Yeah. Remember when I first came out in 2015, I started not thinking I was going to do it. It's like flip a coin. I said, how would you like to be First Lady? To Melania. Well, she's a very confident person. She just wants what's good for the country, what's good for me, not even what's good for her. But I said, how would you like to be First Lady? She actually said I could do without it. She wouldn't have, she liked her life very much. But you remember the Biden crime family took millions and millions of dollars from China to sell off American energy, and the industry, a lot of it went to the Chinese, the Communist Party, running by the Communist Party, that's what it is. And they were very good to me. I had a great relationship, actually, with President Xi until COVID. Then I said, that's enough, can't do that. That was too bad. And I said, when it first came out, the Wuhan labs, right? I always said, I never, they said caves from 2,000 miles away, bats, all this stuff. Then they blamed Italy, France, they even tried to blame our soldiers, and then they finally said, all right, we did it. But I said it was from the Wuhan labs. That's where it was from. Because we saw thousands of dead bodies around that Wuhan lab. It's a very bad deal. And once that happened, it really, because we made the greatest trade deal probably ever made with China. I don't even talk about it. I don't even talk about it. We took in hundreds of billions of dollars in taxes from China. I gave $28 billion. There aren't too many farmers in this audience, but let me tell you, in Iowa, they love Trump. I'm up by about 40 points in Iowa. We're up by 40 points in Nebraska. Wisconsin, we're doing unbelievable. But people came back to me, sir, it doesn't sound good. It's condescending. What? Don't mention to Iowa that you know you're going to win. Say I'd like to win. I said, wait a minute, I do know I'm going to win. I gave him $28 billion. How the hell do I lose, right? I said that to him, Wesley. And the people in Iowa, they get it, and we're up, way up. We have competition that's not so good there, or anywhere else for that matter. You see where Ron DeSanctimonious is now in third place? Can you imagine? Bertrand is number 2, Bertrand. I will never run against our president. He was the greatest president. I will never run against him. Under no circumstances will I run against President Trump. 2 months later, ladies and gentlemen, I'm announcing my candidates. I'm saying, what the hell happened to that one? But that's what you have in politics, with the exception of Wesley and Louis. And we have some, by the way, we have great people. Dan Patrick is great. He's a great guy. I hope you like him, but he's the chairman of our campaign, right? And so many great ones. Ronnie Jackson, right? Troy, do we love Troy? I love Troy. You have a couple that I don't like too much, but these are, we'll tell you about them around election time. We'll talk to you about that as the election nears. But it was just proven by House Republicans that Joe Biden personally received vast sums of money funneled from China directly into his pockets. Joe Biden is corrupt and Joe Biden is compromised, and you'll never have good deals with these foreign countries because they know everything about him. They know far more about him than we do. Biden even depleted the strategic petroleum reserve that we did so great with. Remember, we bought all that oil when the price was nice and low, right? We bought so much, we filled that thing, and nobody ever saw anything like it. And for the election, he wanted to see if he could have very little impact in terms of, because believe it or not, the energy capacity of our country is so big that even that, which is probably the largest storage areas in the world. But we made a great deal, got a lot of it at $20 a barrel. $20 a barrel, doesn't that sound good? But we got a lot because we actually produced so much, it was starting to get a little bit wild out there, so we had to cut it back, and we did cut it back, and everybody made a lot of money, and everybody had inexpensive energy, and it was a beautiful thing, and it was really getting ready to rock. And I couldn't wait to go over to Europe and make those deals. I would have made deals with every single country over there. They didn't need the Russia Nord Stream 2 pipeline. They didn't need it. Crooked Joe puts China first, Russia first, Venezuela first. How about that one? Venezuela, I thought they were the enemy, Louis. They have the worst, they don't have gasoline and they don't have oil. You know what they have? Tar. And I hate to say this, I'm in the wrong place to say it. You know where it's refined? There's only one refinery in the country that can refine it because it's tar. They got a lot of it. You know where that refinery is located? In a place called Houston, Texas. Has anyone ever heard of Houston, Texas? So for all of those environmentalists that don't want to drill our clean, beautiful, sweet, they call it sweet, the real type sweet, they love it, they can taste it. They don't want, we have the most of it, but for those people that don't want to do it, you are right now in your city, the refinery for the tar, which takes tremendously costly, but what it sends up into the air is unbelievable. And this was his choice. We could have taken it for nothing, under our feet, but he takes it from an enemy country, a country that is now run by dictators and run by a dictator, and that dictator was on his last couple of weeks at the end of the Trump administration, and now that dictator is a very rich man. You know that? Very rich. But Biden puts America last, and he puts our workers last. He puts our industries like this last, he puts your families last, and he puts everything that's good last. It's like April Fool's Day. Go through it. What has he done? Think of it. He's been there for 3 years. What has he done that's good? There hasn't been one thing that's done. Everything is bad. The border is bad. Say $1,000 to anybody that can name something. No, but think of it. Illegal aliens, the immigration, the border. You know, we built more wall than we said we're going to build 400 miles. We built 561 miles of wall. We then ordered another 200 because, like water, you know, you think you've got it, but they start walking around it a little bit. So we ordered another 200. It was ready to be put in place, would have taken 3 weeks. And they said, we don't want it. That's when I realized they actually wanted open borders because they wouldn't put it up. And it laid there rusting. And then recently I read where they sold it for 5 cents on the dollar. The best wall. And this was a wall that was designed specifically by Border Patrol and me and everybody. And I didn't like it. I wanted to do concrete plank like you have in a parking garage. I was a good builder. I was the best builder. I built great. But I wanted concrete plank. And what happened is long stretches, you could go 80, 90 feet, but long stretches, and Border Patrol said you have to see through it. And sir, we need steel on the outside, concrete on the inside, then you need rebar. So we had steel, very tough steel, very hardened steel. Then we had hardened concrete. Believe it or not, there's a lot of different concrete. Some is unbelievably powerful. The technology on concrete is the same technology that you've done with drill bits. It's incredible how powerful it is. You can get it up to 10,000 pounds. And if you ever drop it, if you're building an apartment house, a tall one, and you drop some on the floor, it's a bad thing because you can't get it off. You can't get it off. But they needed that, and we actually had it tested by mountain climbers, great mountain climbers. And this was the one that was hardest for them to get up. And then we had the anti-climb provision. That's the piece on top, which I never liked the look of. But I said, well, why do we have to put that piece? I don't like the look. He said, that's anti-climb. That panel makes it very hard to get over. Does that make sense to anybody? You know the panel? So when you see the panel up there, Sid, don't blame me for the look, but it does make it very, very tough to get up. If you didn't have that panel, it's much easier. So we did it all the right way. And we had this all built. Another 200 miles, and they sold it for 5 cents on the dollar. It's so sad to see what's going on with our country. But Biden surrendered our energy independence to foreign producers, just like he surrendered Afghanistan to the Taliban. What a horrible thing that was. That was the lowest point, I think, in the history of our country. I don't think our country has ever been more degraded or embarrassed than anything like that, with that horrible day where they gave away $85 billion worth of brand new, that I bought because I rebuilt the entire military. We had 48-year-old fighter jets. We built the entire military, rebuilt it, the whole military, and he gave $85 billion away, which, here, the good news, it's not that much relative to what we built, but 85 billion, not million. 85 billion's a lot, right? 85 million is a lot. We did 85 billion, gave it to them. New planes, new everything. And we were getting out too. You know, I was the one that got it down to 2,500, but we're going to keep Bagram, the air base, which is one of the biggest in the world. It cost us billions of dollars many years ago, not because of Afghanistan. I was going to keep it because of China, because it's 1 hour away from where China makes their nuclear weapons. So I was going to keep it for China. Wouldn't that have been nice? So they gave 85 billion away. Most importantly, we lost 13 great lives. And what nobody ever talks about, 38 young people, 4 women, 34 men were literally obliterated by that horrible bomb that went off. No legs, no arms. One has literally no legs, no arms, and the face is just rough, very bad. And incredible. I mean, honestly, 5 years ago, they couldn't have lived. Today, with the medicines and with the kind of recapture you get, it's pretty incredible. But what they've gone through, because of an incompetent man, because a man said, we'll take the military out first. Take the military out first. We also left hundreds of people that are American citizens in Afghanistan. You know, I spoke to the head of the Taliban. I took a lot of heat from these very fake news people back there. Actually, 2 of them were good. You know, it's amazing. Whenever I say that, those red lights, see, they have the red lights, they immediately go off. They turn off immediately, Wesley. Those lights. There's one on. I guess that's, I don't know why, because they're good. Not everybody bad. But when you look at what they've done, and now nobody talks about Afghanistan. You notice they're not talking much about Ukraine either right now. That's because things don't go well, they don't want to talk about it. When things don't go well, they don't talk about it. You know, it's what they don't talk about, the fake news media, that's almost as bad and sometimes worse than what they do talk about. So that means that things are going badly because they're not talking about Ukraine anymore. I don't see it. And not just because of the catastrophe in Israel. Ukraine would have never happened with us, ever. Ukraine would have never, ever happened with us. Zero chance. And I told Putin, you do it, and it's going to be really bad. I said it much now. I said, Vladimir, we're friends, but if you go in to Ukraine, things are going to happen, the likes of which you've never seen before. No, no, no. Then I told him what I was going to do. No way you're going to do that. I said, way. I said, no. And you know what? No, I got along with him. Everyone hates it. I got along. I think it's actually very good to get along with people. Not bad. You know, he's got a lot of warheads, and so do we. I think it's a good thing. I got along with Kim Jong-un, too, in North Korea. I got along very well with President Xi until, as I said, until that horrible China virus came along. I want to be accurate. We have to be accurate when you talk about it. So let's go with the China virus. Where the hell does COVID come from? What is COVID? You have the Spanish flu, right? You have all these different names that name it after a location, but that one went on. But you know, when you look at all of these things that have happened and all of the horrible stories that have taken place, and I wanted to get out. They were there for 20 years, and it was enough. That was enough. They didn't fight to win. You know, we fought to win. We fought in a place called Syria, and we knocked out 100% of the ISIS caliphate. And then I said, bring them back home, get them back home. We knocked out 100%. We knocked out al-Baghdadi, killed him. And the biggest of all time, Soleimani from Iran, the father of the roadside bomb. Right, Wesley? Father of the roadside bomb. He was the worst. He was a bad guy. 94% of the people that walk around from wartime wounds where they have no legs or no arms were just obliterated. 94% because of Soleimani. He made those things by the thousands and levels of sophistication that people would be very surprised at. Very, very surprised at. And he's gone. Think of that. So you have ISIS, and you have the biggest of all, the head of Pakistan, Khan. He was a great cricket player. He became the head of Pakistan. He said it was the biggest moment in my life. When I heard that Soleimani was killed, I left my office. I walked to my home. I stayed in my home in solitude for 1 week. It was the biggest event that ever happened to me. He's the biggest cricket player. That's like being a great NFL player, a great baseball player. He was said to be just about the best handsome guy. He became the boss, Pakistan. He said, I left him. I contemplated for 1 week. It was the biggest event of my life. I've never had anything like that happen. And many people felt like that. And I heard there were repercussions, all of the things, but you have no choice. You have no choice. I told the story the other night, which I'd never told before, that when Iran shot down a drone, a metal drone, it was 14 years old, not very valuable, flying very near Iran. Behind it was an airplane with 39 engineers and pilots in it. And Iran shot down the drone. I said, did they shoot down the plane behind it? Because you have engineers that generally follow the drones, right? They said, no, sir, they didn't. I said, they shot down the drone, but not the plane. They could have shot down the plane, which is about 5 times bigger. I said, that's interesting. So, but we had to hit them. So we hit them quite hard. We knocked out their radar, different things. And we heard some word back from them because I made the statement that if they hit us back, we're going to do things to them that they've never thought possible. And Iran, this is Iran, the same Iran that's wiping Biden's face in the mud. They called us up, and first time I told the story was a week ago. They called us up and they said, listen, we have no choice. We have to hit you because we have our own self-respect. And I understood that. We hit them. They got to do something. We're going to launch 18 missiles at a certain military base that you have. And you remember that night. Interesting night. I was the only one that wasn't nervous because I knew what was going to happen. They told us that don't be concerned. We're going to launch 18 missiles at your military base, but none of them will hit the base. These are very accurate missiles. These are missiles that essentially never miss. They're very reliable, very accurate. 5 of them blew up in the air, didn't make it, and the others hit outside the base area. You remember that, Louis, you were there, right? Louis was very nervous. I wasn't nervous because I knew something that Louis didn't know. So they told me that they were going to hit us, but they just had to do it. Now, I never told that story before, but you know what that story is about? Respect for our nation. Respect for our nation. So we have an event coming up that I believe will be the biggest election in the history of our country. We have an event coming up that is important for lots of the obvious reasons, but important because there has never been a more incompetent, more corrupt, or worse president in the history of the United States than crooked Joe Biden. What he's doing, he is destroying our country. And the happiest person alive today is a man named Jimmy Carter. Because Jimmy Carter, I would say, had a brilliant presidency if you compare it to what we're going through with this person. He had an absolutely brilliant presidency. But we're going to do things immediately, within 24 hours. We're going to stop the invasion of our southern and, by the way, our northern border, which is not great either. But we are going to stop immediately. And we have great people like Brandon Judd, Border Patrol, the people at ICE, Tom Homan, who's fantastic, Central Casting. We have great, they'll do it within 48 hours, like the caravan I told you that's on its way up. They wouldn't have caravan. Well, they had caravans when I came up with the name. I believe they'll say, oh, it wasn't really you, it was somebody. I believe I came up with the name because they started forming these caravans. And they don't put their best in those caravans. You know, these countries are very smart. They put people that they don't want to have in El Salvador, in Honduras, in Guatemala, in other places. And many of them now are coming from parts of Africa. Yesterday they had 18 people they got from the Congo, and four of them were from jails. By the way, our prisoners are like the nicest people in the world compared to some of the prisoners that our country is taking right now. Our prisoners are refined, wonderful people, even if they were murderers, compared to the people that are coming out of some of these cells from MS-13, from South America, from Africa. They're destroying our country. And we have to get them out. We have to get them out. And we have to get them out fast. You remember the Trump travel ban? I imposed the Trump travel ban from any terror-plagued country where they hate America. You know, when they're shouting in their country, "Death to America," typically they're not going to be great citizens. This is typical. Goes back to what we said about common sense. Death to America, death to America. By the way, we'd love to be a citizen. No thanks, we don't want it. And I took a lot of heat, and then our Supreme Court, you know, we picked 3 justices, great justices, and over 300 federal judges, of which you have a lot of them. You have a lot of them right here in Texas. So that really helped. And by the way, you have a very good Attorney General who went through hell. He went through hell. And I was very happy to have helped. I was very happy to have helped, but they shouldn't have done that to him, because he's one of the best in the country, and they shouldn't have done that to him. But it's one of those things. But if you hate America, if you want to abolish Israel, if you sympathize with jihadists, then we really don't want you coming into our country. We don't want you coming into our country. So we have an election coming up, and if you remember, and I know everyone here probably does, I only see very few, very, very young, but I do see young audiences now. We have the youngest audience. I noticed in the polls that have really been spectacular. We're leading De Sanctimonious by 54 points, 60 points. 61 came out today. We're at 70, almost 70, 69, and he's at like 8. It's like a wounded bird falling from the sky. Oh, who is that? That's Ron De Sanctimonious. Look, if I endorsed Louis, if Louis was down and out like De Sanctimonious, and I said, "Louis Gohmert, I'm going to endorse you, it's going to bring you back," and then he goes out and he's down and out, he's got no chance, I endorse him, and then he goes like a rocket ship, right? And then they ask 4 years later, then I got him through the general election also. But 4 years later, they come to Louis Gohmert, they say, "Sir, would you like to run for president against the president?" Louis Gohmert would say, "No, I can't do that, because what he did for me was life-changing." Ron De Sanctimonious was looking for jobs. He ran, he was at 3%. The leader was, I think, in the 40s, right? Like 42, 43. The leader had almost $30 million in the bank. He was the very successful agricultural commissioner of Florida, which is like the second position in Florida after the governor. And he was there for 8 years. His whole life was to run, but I didn't know him. And De Sanctimonious came to see me. "Would you do it?" Tears in his eyes. Nobody would even believe it. I don't know if he was wearing those same boots. I didn't notice it. I don't care either. That I don't care about. But tears in his eyes, he said, "Sir, if you endorse me, I think I could win." I said, "Ron, you're doing so badly that if George Washington and Abraham Lincoln came back from the dead and they endorsed you and they would be your running mate in some form, you're not going to make it. Say, you're really popular in Florida. I'm telling you, sir, it would give me a chance." Now, I didn't know Adam Putnam, but he was supposed to be a good guy, but I didn't know him. I never met him. So I owed him nothing. But a lot of the congressmen, this man right here, more than anybody, and Wesley, because he's so young, he didn't get the full brunt, but there was nobody better than Wesley, and there's nobody better anyway because he's great. Okay? Take good care of him, Texas. Take good care of him. But Louis was right on the front lines, much better than Ron. But Ron was one of about 150 that were out there all the time saying the impeachment hoax #1, impeachment hoax #2, that they're hoaxes, right? Yep. And I appreciated that. So I said, all right, look, we'll do it. It's going to be tough, but we'll do it. And I asked him to write me out what he'd like to say, and he wrote it out. It was terrible. And that we found out. He's got terrible instincts. I mean, he was against Social Security, little things. He was against Social Security. He wanted to raise the age. He was against Medicare. He wanted to cut the hell out of Medicare. So these people deserve Medicare. They've been fighting for it. We could do a lot of other things like drill and take in money instead of doing that. But he was against things that were not good and not fair. And what happened is he wins. And then he wins the general. I did 2 or 3 rallies that were massive rallies. I said, you're going to win, Ron, because the man he ran against was the hottest guy in Democrat politics. Let's assume I was the hottest guy in politics because I was president. I don't want to be foolish. But no, he was the hottest guy in Democrat politics. They said he'll be president someday. They didn't know he was a crackhead, so turned out that was revealed about a year and a half later. But he was hard to beat, and I said, you're going to beat him. After the second or third rally, I said, let me tell you, you're going to win. He said, no, I don't think so. I said, you're going to win. Okay, so he won. That's it. I didn't see him too much. It wasn't like a social friend. I'd help Florida a lot. It's like I helped Texas a lot. Every time you had those storms were brutal, we took care of you. We took care of Texas. That was my baby. We took care of Texas, but you know, they asked him, are you going to run against the president? And he said something that I didn't like. I have no comment. Now when they say I have no comment, Mario is a great businessman, that's not a good sign. Do you agree? He should have said, I would never run against our president. He's done a great job. And I endorse him fully immediately. And in 2028, he'd have a very good chance. But now I don't think he'd have much of a chance because he's been exposed as having no personality. And if a politician doesn't have some personality, you don't need a lot. Number one, you need super competence. And you got to be smart as hell. And you got to be able to handle all the bullshit that they give you, including when they make you the political opponent of somebody and they get the Justice Department on you and they said, he spoke badly about the election. The election was rigged. And there's so much evidence, we're going to show you things that nobody believes, but it was a rigged election. But, so they asked Ron DeSanctimonious and he said, I have no comment. And I said, I heard that. I said, play that back. One of the greatest inventions in history, TiVo. Or its alternative, right? There's a few of them. One of the great, better than television itself. Television was useless. You could never play anything back. But TiVo. I said, play that sucker back. What did he just say? I have no comment. He said, that means he's going to run against me. This guy, I got him elected. And the word sanctimonious came to me immediately. I said, Ron D. I added D. Ron DeSanctimonious. It came to like, somebody said your best was Pocahontas when she said she had Indian blood. She had Indian blood. I said, let's call her Pocahontas. That was a good one. We had a lot of good ones. I don't want to go over too many because, you know, a lot of them are now friends of mine, Wesley. I never had one for Wesley. I never had one. They don't want one. Wesley said, I'm saying I don't. Well, you had one from one of your senators here had a pretty good one, I would say. But, you know, but it's called branding and you brand people. And I said, this means he's going to run. So my people backstage who get paid a fortune, they say, but you can't listen to them all the time. They're professionals. We're running a great campaign. You know, we're getting great credit. They're saying this is the best campaign Trump's ever run. That's pretty good, you know? So they're doing a good job. But my people, sir, please don't hit him, sir. Why? He's a Republican. I said, I don't care. And we hit him. We just bowed at him. And now I think we're going to have to start getting somebody else because I think Ron looks like he's finished. But it's right disloyalty. And you know, they said to me, sir, people don't care about loyalty in a politician. They really don't care. It's not a factor that he was totally disloyal to you. I said, I think it is. And you know what? Once I said that, people said, and my people now admit they were wrong because he fell so fast. I mean, he fell. We were leading by a lot, but now we're really leading by a lot. The only thing that could defeat us now is if we play prevent defense like in the NFL. You know what prevent defense is, right? You're winning, you're stopping the other team, they're not gaining on you at all. You only have to hold them one more time. They have 0 points one more time, and the coach says, let's go prevent. And they lose the game. Touchdown, touchdown, touchdown. We're not going to play prevent defense at all. Because this is make or break. I really believe our country is at, I believe, the lowest point it's ever been. I think when you look at what's happening outside, when you look at all of these big, unbelievable, large groups of people screaming things that you can't believe, are being stated inside the bounds of our country. When you look at what's happening, so I said it with 2016. I said this is the biggest election in the history of our country. And then we did a great job, and I didn't do 2020 that way because the country was in a big hit. We had the strongest border in history. We had oil going every which direction. We were doing so well. We built the strongest economy in history, and we had no inflation. We had no inflation. Think of it. We had the strongest economy in history. We had the strongest border in history. We had everything was perfect. We were respected all over the world. They didn't know what to make of me, but they had a hard time. We were respected all over the world. We were respected. Somebody said you were feared. I said, well, that's even better, to be honest with you. But we were respected at a minimum. We were feared too. We did all these great things. And one little side note is that I did such a good job. Áp lực cho các hãng xe là
If you remember 2016, I was talking border. People are coming in, they're being raped, women are being raped.
Khi tranh tài trong giới thể thao không làm thay đổi nhất giống như là những phụ nữ, những người đàn ông chuyển giới đi vào cái nôi của phụ nữ để mà lấy điểm cao cái việc đó là không công bằng cho giới phụ nữ. Ông sẽ tạo lại công việc làm cho người Mỹ. Về quân sự, ông sẽ đặt nặng vấn đề phát triển quân sự, đóng những cái tàu quân hiện đại nhưng dùng những kỹ thuật tối ưu. Ông không có đưa ra những cái chương trình kỹ thuật rườm rà phức tạp. Về vấn đề an ninh, vấn đề biên giới, ông muốn làm sao để cho nước Mỹ nghĩa là tiếp tục chống cái vấn đề di dân bất hợp pháp, và đặc biệt ông nhấn mạnh cái vấn đề kinh tế làm sao để làm việc với Trung Hoa, cái là chính quyền Trung Hoa để đem lại quyền lợi cho nước Mỹ nữa, và sau đó ông đặt cái vấn đề chiến tranh là làm sao để giải quyết các vấn đề chiến tranh đem lại hòa bình cho thế giới, và đặc biệt là vấn đề công lý và pháp lý ông sẽ tiếp tục nghĩa là làm tốt cho cái vấn đề an ninh ở các địa phương. Ông đã đưa được 3 người chánh án vào tố cáo phản biện và 300 chánh án vào các tòa án liên bang. Ông nghĩ rằng vấn đề pháp lý của vấn đề làm sao một cái hệ thống công pháp tốt cho cái xã hội nước Mỹ sẽ được yên ổn và người dân sẽ vô làm ăn. Đó là những vấn đề chính chúng tôi ghi nhận được trong cái buổi lời phát biểu vào ngày hôm nay.
Giờ như ngắt ra không cái nữa.
I got along with all the tough ones. I may not bring up the names because then they'll say he liked so and so or this one. But we stopped the nuclear war with
đặc biệt chúng tôi nhân đây cảm ơn tất cả những cô bác quý chú quý vị đã đến đây tham dự cũng như là quý đồng hương để theo dõi.
Hillary Clinton, you would have had a nuclear war. If there was a way of extending Obama, which fortunately there wasn't, you would have had a nuclear war with North Korea. So what happens is the border was so good and so strong, I couldn't talk about it. And I talk about, ladies and gentlemen, the border. They're going like falling asleep on me, right? Today they don't fall asleep. Today they give us standing ovations because we have to do it again. But we had the border to the lowest point. I couldn't talk about that. But we could talk about everything. So we built the greatest economy. We did so many incredible things. Even a thing like right to try. You know what right to try is? If you're sick, you are terminally ill. And I hope there's nobody in this audience that has that. I hope there's nobody anywhere, but they do. If you're terminally ill, you're going to die. We have incredible space-age drugs.